Throughout history, the evolution of warfare and weaponry has relentlessly pushed the boundaries of destruction, leading to increasingly severe and brutal injuries on the battlefield. From the ancient times to the modern era's weapons, each leap in arms technology has brought forth more devastating wounds. As weapons became more advanced and injuries more severe, medical science had to rapidly evolve to keep pace and treat increasingly devastating wounds. This video shows how war's deadly innovations pushed medicine to advance, revealing the fight between destruction and healing through time. Ancient Era. In the ancient era, warfare was brutal and personal, with weapons like swords, spears, axes, and arrows causing devastating injuries. Swords could slice through flesh and bone, while arrows embedded in the body made removal painful and dangerous. Without the benefits of modern medicine, the soldier's only hope lay in the rudimentary treatments available at the time. The first aid of the ancient world was a mix of practical and mystical solutions. Wound cleaning involved wine and vinegar, substances believed to disinfect, but which in reality did little to prevent infection. Herbs with supposed healing properties were applied to wounds, but their effectiveness was also limited. The most extreme treatment, however, was cauterization. Using heated metal, medics would sear the wound closed, a procedure as horrifying as it sounds, performed without any form of pain relief. One of the more intriguing practices from this era came from the Vikings, who utilized a unique method to assess internal injuries: consuming a broth made from garlic. After ingesting the garlic soup, they would smell the wound. If the scent of garlic was detectable from the wound, it was believed that the gastrointestinal tract had been perforated, indicating a severe and often fatal injury. Survival largely depended on the location and severity of the wound. Minor injuries could heal, although painfully and slowly, while more severe injuries often led to death, either through blood loss or subsequent infection. The introduction of the crossbow in warfare marked a significant evolution in combat and medical challenges. Crossbows, which bolts could penetrate chainmail and even plate armor, inflicted deep, life-threatening injuries, difficult to treat due to the risk of infection from debris carried into wounds. This era saw the beginnings of surgical intervention, with the first attempts to remove bolts. As history progressed into the medieval era, further advancements in weaponry, like more powerful longbows and heavier crossbows, made medical treatment even more complex. The injuries from these weapons involved deep tissue and organ damage beyond the capabilities of the time's medical knowledge. The practice of arrow surgery emerged, necessitating the development of specialized tools for extracting arrowheads and bolts embedded in flesh. Despite these advancements, the medical response was still limited, with treatments such as pouring boiling oil into wounds to fight infection and performing amputations without pain relief, often resulting in the patient's death from shock or blood loss. Also, there was the practice of treating arrow wounds by pouring boiling oil into them. This was believed to clean the wound but often resulted in severe burns and increased the risk of death from shock or infection. In essence, in the ancient era, the medical treatment available was as rudimentary as the weapons were primitive, but it started a long journey towards the advanced medical practices we see today. The transition into the Renaissance and early modern period, marked by the introduction of gunpowder weapons, particularly muskets and cannons, revolutionized the battlefield and introduced a new category of traumatic injuries. Gunshot wounds presented real challenges for medical practitioners of the time. Gunshot wounds during this era were complex. Bullets and shrapnel could cause crushing injuries, compound fractures, and deep tissue trauma. Unlike the clean cuts of a sword or the puncture of an arrow, these injuries were prone to infection and difficult to treat. Initial medical responses often involved the removal of embedded projectiles. Procedure done without anesthesia and with rudimentary tools, increasing the risk of further injury and infection. The understanding of infection remained limited, but this period saw the advent of more structured approaches to wound care. Ambroise Paré, a French surgeon, challenged the practice of cauterizing wounds with boiling oil. Paré's work represented a shift towards more humane and effective treatment methods, even as the comprehensive understanding of germ theory remained centuries away. This era witnessed the growth of field hospitals, improving the organization and delivery of medical care to wounded soldiers. The concept of triage, prioritizing the treatment of soldiers based on the severity of their injuries, began to take shape, allowing for more efficient use of medical resources. Anatomical knowledge expanded significantly with improved surgical practices, albeit slowly, as societal and religious norms often hindered dissection and practical research. The destructive power of gunpowder weapons forced changes in military tactics and fortifications. Armies adapted with the development of trench warfare and star forts, designed to withstand cannon bombardment. The 19th century, culminating in the American Civil War, marked a pivotal era in the evolution of warfare and medical treatments. This period saw the introduction of rifled muskets, with the ammunition such as the mini-ball, which had a devastating impact on the human body. A particularly horrifying aspect of this bullet, while improving accuracy and range, is that it caused massive, terrible wounds due to its soft lead construction. Upon contact with the human body, the way it was designed to expand and transfer its kinetic energy resulted in horrific injuries. The entry wound was the size of the bullet itself, but the exit wound was several times larger and ghastly. Bones hit by this projectile were literally shattered into pieces, making the healing of such wounds impossible. As a result, the Civil War is remembered as the conflict with the highest number of amputations, as 3 out of 4 surgeries were amputations. The devastating impact of certain ammunition types spurred international regulations, leading to banning lead, explosive, and other harmful bullets, and promoting the full metal jacket design, where the lead core is in a hard shell of copper or another alloy, to minimize wound severity. Surgical amputations were performed in rudimentary field hospitals, with surgeons using saws to remove limbs, often without proper anesthesia, leading to shock and high mortality rates. The use of chloroform and ether as anesthetics was a significant advancement, yet inconsistently applied due to shortages. The Civil War also had the challenges of managing infections. Gangrene and pyemia quickly spread in field hospitals because of terrible conditions. The sheer scale of the conflict forced innovations in medical logistics and treatments, prompting significant post-war progress. The war also saw the beginnings of professional nursing and the significant role women played in the care of the wounded, with figures such as Clara Barton. The World Wars marked a pivotal era in the development of battlefield medicine, bringing forth both challenges and advancements in the treatment of war-related injuries. World War I, known as the Great War, introduced industrial-scale warfare that resulted in complex and horrific injuries from high-velocity bullets, explosive shrapnel, and chemical agents like mustard and chlorine gas. These challenges necessitated innovations such as widespread antiseptic practices, the use of mobile X-ray units, and refined blood transfusion techniques, significantly improving soldiers' survival rates. The trench warfare led to conditions like trench foot and trench fever, while the psychological impact of combat was recognized and treated as shell shock for the first time, paving the way for military psychiatry. The chain of evacuation system ensured timely medical care from the front lines to base hospitals, laying the groundwork for modern military medical evacuation and treatment protocols. World War II escalated these challenges on a global scale, requiring versatile medical solutions across diverse theaters of operation. It witnessed the introduction of antibiotics like penicillin and advancements in psychiatric care for combat stress. Innovations in plastic surgery and rehabilitation medicine addressed disfiguring wounds and helped soldiers recover from both physical and psychological injuries. During the modern era, the Vietnam War first saw the implementation of the medevac system. This innovation, largely facilitated by the extensive use of helicopters, marked a turning point in the rapid evacuation and treatment of injured personnel, bringing the concept of golden hour, the critical time period after injury during which medical treatment is most likely to be successful. The medevac system, short for medical evacuation, utilized helicopters as flying ambulances to quickly transport wounded soldiers from the battlefield to field hospitals. This system significantly reduced the time it took to get the injured the critical care they needed. The use of helicopters for medical evacuation was not entirely new, but reached new heights of efficiency during the Vietnam War. The mobility and speed of helicopters in the dense jungles and difficult terrain of Vietnam were unparalleled, bypassing traditional land transport's limitations. Integral to the medevac system was the triage process, a method of prioritizing treatment based on the severity of wounds and the likelihood of survival. This process was crucial, where medical resources were stretched thin, and decisions had to be made quickly to save as many lives as possible. Soldiers with life-threatening injuries that required immediate intervention were categorized as priority. Those with serious but not immediately life-threatening injuries were deemed routine, and those whose injuries were deemed too severe for the available medical resources to make a significant difference were heartbreakingly labeled as expectant. The triage system, while pragmatic, placed medical personnel in the harrowing position of playing God, deciding who would receive immediate care, who could wait, and who, tragically, would not receive treatment. These decisions were not made lightly and were informed by a combination of medical knowledge, the availability of resources, and the immediacy of the threat to life. The system aimed to maximize survival, but was also a grim reminder of the realities of war and the limits of medical intervention in such extreme circumstances. Today's conflicts, characterized by high firepower weapons, drones, and explosive devices, produce a range of complex injuries. The sophistication of medical evacuation operations has reached new heights, with aircraft equipped with state-of-the-art medical facilities capable of performing life-saving procedures en route to comprehensive care centers. This capability ensures that the critical golden hour is utilized to its fullest. These advancements save more lives, and they also bring home soldiers with injuries that would have been fatal in past conflicts, presenting new challenges in long-term care and rehabilitation. Prosthetics and rehabilitation services have also seen significant advancements. In essence, modern warfare and its consequent medical challenges shows us the paradox of technological progress. As weaponry becomes more devastating, medical response capabilities must evolve to mitigate these effects, highlighting the ongoing struggle between the destructive forces of war and the humanitarian efforts to minimize its impact on human life. It's pretty amazing to think about how far we've come with medical tech. Thanks to advancements like painkillers and anesthesia, we don't have to endure the intense pain our ancestors did during medical treatments. It's something we should really appreciate every time we need help healing. What do you think about the trajectory of human civilization, where the evolution of military technology and its increasingly severe consequences are paralleled by medical advancements to heal those wounds? Why can't we reach a stage in evolution where we realize enough is enough with weapon development and destructive technology? And will we ever learn to prioritize living in peace over devising new ways to harm each other?